Yes, 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 yes. I'm in the building. I'm in the building. Pardon the tardiness. Excuse me. We are 8 minutes behind schedule. Just eight. I thought it was going to be 10, but just 8 minutes behind schedule. I got some things I got to put in perspective today. Today, we'll be discussing some things that people don't want to discuss. This will be a show that I recommend you share with your liberal friends or social justice warriors who claim that everything can be given freely and that trusting the government to give you anything freely will work. This will be the show today that will debunk all of these narratives that you hear these Democrats constantly throwing down our throats. But first, today we will be giving credit to sources from Breitbart TV, the New York Post, um, NBC News off of YouTube. And I'll go along with it as I post it and I put it up. I'll make sure that these individuals are given their rights. But before we do all of that, let's get into this. Please be mindful this show is for 18 years of age and older. All copyright laws will be respected, but this show is intended to use the Fair Use Act of it. Thank you very much. Please do remember that the New Right Party channel and the New Red Party show is sponsored by patriots like you. And as long as you're sending these donations, it allows me to create the content that will continue to make these motherfuckers sick. As you were.
He's on fire!
First is the family and my family entertainment and his team no sleep. Flossy high and yeah we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making, and I heard they want my soul. Illuminati wanna take it. First is the family and my family entertainment and his team no sleep. Flossy high and yeah we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making, and I heard they want my soul. Illuminati wanna take it.
CEO, bullshit, paying for the pussy, I endorse it, riding through the city, that's my off.
Okay, we are live in the building. Now, you've been seeing a lot of Democrats talk to you and tell you free stuff, free stuff, free stuff. The government should pay, the government should pay, the government should pay, the government should pay. I'm going to show you the end results of believing what the Democrats say. I'm going to show you today the end results of the education that these liberal institutions have been providing to the population and what actually happens in the long run, in the end. And I'll be showing you what happens when you give Democrats control to enrich themselves while promising you free things. Today, we're going to use California as an example. Yep. Today, we're going to be showing you California. But first, let's get into some news. Let's show the Democrats first. Let's get into the Democrats. Let's get into this free smoke that they plan on giving everybody. Let's get into this free smoke that they plan on giving everybody. I'll let Laura Angum get in first.
That's the focus of tonight's angle.
All rights received to Fox News, and I am pulling this off of YouTube.
All right, for any of you who had the misfortune of catching even a few minutes of the Democrat debate last night, you'll undoubtedly agree that it was a great night for Donald Trump. With the exception of perhaps a candidate no one knows, Tulsi Gabbard, what's clear is that the Democrat Party has learned absolutely nothing since 2016. They completely misread the results of last election and have adopted essentially a slash and burn strategy toward almost every American tradition and common sense understanding of economics and governance. Now, it's most entertaining, I think, if we break down the current Democrat looniness into several moments. First, the money grows on trees mentality.
My plan would be to, first of all, make community college free.
We're supposed to be for free college, free public college for our young people.
Universal child care for every baby age 0 to 5. Universal technical school, 2-year college, and 4-year college for everybody who wants to give it a try.
We should give everyone in this country health care as a basic human right for free. Full stop. Healthcare is not just a human right, it should be an American right. And I believe the best way to get there is Medicare for all.
I believe Medicare for all is the way to do that.
Now, remember, spend now, figure out a way to pay for it all later. They still think there's enough rich people to cover trillions and trillions of dollars in new spending. I'd like to go back and see the grades of these people, what they got in Economics 101, if they even took economics at all. Then there is what I call the disconnected from reality caucus. At a time when 71% of Americans are happy with the economy, Democrats have blinders on.
We know that not everyone is sharing in this prosperity.
I think of it this way. Who is this economy really working for?
Everyone except for the people that are governed and controlled by the Democrats and their policies.
This economy has got to work for everyone. And right now we know that it isn't. I see every single day that this economy is not working for average Americans.
Well, what district is this joker in? His own district. What state is he in? His own state. Or he's in D.C., where Democrats have control. So if he sees it every day, he's not in let me get a real straight liberal state. Conservative state. Look at Texas. How many tent encampments do you see in Texas? The only tent encampment I see in Texas is Tent City, which is a jail. They have a jail in Texas that's a tent. It's full of tents. Let's get into this, because I don't even have time for this anymore. This is Como News. I'm pulling this off of YouTube's Como News. Again, I'll put this up here on the screen so you can see. Como News.
For so long, for so many, it was a dream. Suntans and movie stars and surfing songs and infinite possibility. California dreaming.
This is what happens when these Democrats tell you that all Americans should have health care. We're going to debunk this right now. When they tell you that the economy isn't working for all Americans, we're going to debunk that right now. We're going to show you exactly why it doesn't work for certain Americans in this country.
The same sun still shines down on Los Angeles, and for many the dream is still golden, still very real. But there is a thing happening in LA, a vast failure that is making people afraid, and they should be afraid.
This is Skid Row in Los Angeles, and none of the things you see here, the garbage and the filth and the degradation, is shocking to those of us in Seattle. We see it almost every day. But the sheer volume of it here, the enormity of it all, is truly mind-boggling. And it has opened the doors to some next-level problems that are horrifying.
It is 53 square blocks of suffering and mental illness and drugs on a level that is hard to fathom.
When I first got here, I was a man. But after being here for 9 years, it took a toll on me. And now I don't feel like a man anymore.
And now, bubbling at the surface is the long-ignored cousin of addiction and homelessness, disease.
We have not seen conditions for humans like this since medieval times. Period. And that's a fact. But if you get
Dr. Drew Pinsky is scared and outraged, and on his radio show in LA, he no longer holds back.
Tuberculosis is exploding, non-tuberculous acid-fast bacilli exploding, and then the rat-borne illnesses, plague and typhus. And then we had typhoid fever last week. Even I didn't think that, I missed that. I mean, so typhoid fever means, oh, now we have oral fecal contamination, so that's going to mean parasites and cholera. Here we go, everybody. Just everything you found in your history books, we got it. It's coming.
He says that bubonic plague, Black Death as it was known, which killed 25 million people over a 5-year period in the Middle Ages, is likely already present in LA. It is caused by fleas biting rats and spreading it to humans, and an army of rats, millions strong, has overthrown Los Angeles. They have infested City Hall. The LAPD station in downtown LA was fined by the state for rodent infestation. 2 employees have been infected by typhus. Cops have been diagnosed with typhoid fever, hepatitis A, and staph.
This is the end of it right here. We're really close to the end of whatever our existence on this earth is going to.
For the people that thinks that the Democrats have a plan, for all of those people you see marching outside screaming socialism and I want to give a special shout out again to Claudia Kenta. She actually, again, last night's show and today's show was brought to you by her. Let's shoot her. Today's show was brought to you by her. She donated, and whenever you donate to the GoFundMe or the PayPal account, that goes directly towards funding the show. We do have bills here that I have to, keep on. So thank you, Claudia Kentai. Hope I'm saying your last name correctly. She gave a great big donation, $200 donation. So, you gotta stop and you gotta thank people for that. The $100 an episode, she did that. And, I'm grateful that she did that. Thank you very much, Claudia. So for the people that are outside that are screaming, the Democrats this, the Bernie Sanders that, or liberals this, or liberals that, this is what they're asking for. They're asking for this, and they see this. They see the policies that the Democrats create, and they don't care.
Skid Row has been in...
How can policies in a government that's allowed this to happen to its own people? I love you more, Claudia. How can you believe in a system that's allowed this to happen to its people? How can you even take their words for it? How can you believe by giving them more power when they felt so many people already? How can you believe that giving them more power will somehow help this? When the only thing that's happened is they have become wealthier and these people are poor. That man said he's been in the streets for 10 years. They have given illegal aliens universal health care in California, and they have American citizens sleeping in tents under underpasses, on sidewalks, closing down small businesses because of fecal matter, rat infestation. All of these things currently are taking place right now under the Democrats' rule.
LA for a long time, but not like this. Never like this.
There's over 1,000 registered sex offenders on the streets of Skid Row.
Andy Bale is the CEO of the Union Rescue Mission in the epicenter of Skid Row. His life's work is saving lives here.
People get beaten, women get raped. It's just a brutal environment.
He looks out now, and he too is scared. He too is outraged.
This is real. Yeah, it's real. And, who knows? This is like a petri dish for disease.
He knows. While delivering water to the people he serves, he contracted staph, E. coli, and strep. It cost him his leg.
Him giving people water has cost him his leg and his health. By simply interacting with these people, unfortunately, that are homeless because of Democrat policy and rule and governance, it's cost him one of his legs. And this is there's no pun intended, but when they say it's going to cost you an arm or a leg, it literally cost this man a leg. Today's show, we're not going to use any profanity. I want you to be able to take this show and share it on every single Facebook that you have. And I want you to make sure that you put this out there and you question people and you say to them, if you agree with Democrat policies, how can you live with yourself knowing this is what they are doing?
And the lost souls on the streets below have no idea what they're up against.
I mean, is it a life or death situation? No. I mean, it's just...
Look how defeated she is. Look how unkept she is. You can just look at her and just tell that she's defeated. She looks absolutely horrible. Her oral hygiene is horrible. I don't believe that she's even 40 years of age. And look at her.
It's a part of life, being sick.
It's been easy enough for most people to ignore.
It's a part of life, being sick. This is what the Democrats have done to these people. Uneducated them. No basic human rights or dignity. While promoting human rights and dignity and making sure it's not afforded to all Americans.
Ignore the plight of Skid Row, but then it started to spread. Homelessness is exploding here, up 16% in 1 year. 36,000 wandering the streets of Los Angeles, 59,000 in LA County. In the shadow of iconic buildings, there are tents now. Right outside beautiful City Hall, there are tents. On Alvarado Street, a man walks out into traffic to avoid the filth. At Venice Beach, called the new Skid Row by some, tents and the things that come with them are on full display. Jill Stewart is the head of the Coalition to Preserve LA.
And there's a lot of butt covering going on. Oh, we did a great job last week. Oh, fantastic press conference. And I'm at the point where if the city council and the mayor don't...
I'm just wondering if she's a Democrat. If she's still claiming to be a Democrat. After seeing what the Democrats have done and what they're doing, I wonder if she still can look herself in the mirror knowing that everything she's facing is being done by her constituents on her side of the aisle. And these people are being ignored.
Do something innovative and dramatic pretty soon. We're going to spend every single day putting out press releases about how incompetent they are.
The camps pop up only where they are allowed. Manhattan Beach, for instance, is...
I got you, Miss Kunta. And what we're going to do is right now, we're going to give you a wrench. Because that was a real genuine donation. So you should have a wrench now. Anyone donating to this channel $200 or more, you definitely deserve a wrench.
Is pristine. Look at this. Under this overpass on the 405, on one side there is nothing. On the other side, a line of tents and garbage. That's because one side is in Culver City. Culver City doesn't allow them. The other side is in Los Angeles. Los Angeles does. The health risks are everywhere. Miranda, on the streets for 4 years now, knows.
Particularly hepatitis A is very rampant out here. That's one of the big ones. But it is scabies. It's just a plethora of health risks and problems out here.
Los Angeles spent $620 million to fight homelessness last year. The successes have been dwarfed by the failures. Many insist that City Hall has been paralyzed by indecision, all the while assuring the public that things are under control. If you live in Seattle, perhaps that sounds familiar. Behind the veneer of the gorgeous sunsets and the vast wealth of sunny Southern California, nobody talks about good vibrations anymore. They talk about disease and despair and how the dream went so very wrong.
The worst man-made disaster in the United States, by far. It's 53 square blocks of abandoned people who've been really left to die. You don't really live on Skid Row. You come here to die.
It was the place to go for your dreams, and now it's the place to go with your nightmares.
Do you feel like you're shouting into the wind? I am screaming into the wind. And I feel this way every day.
like I'm standing on a railroad track and the train is coming and I know the bridge is out. And I'm like, hey, stop. And the engine.
And with all of that, I wonder why this doctor here isn't an advocate for Donald Trump. You have to wonder why this man isn't red pilling Hollywood right now and exposing what's going on in Hollywood to other liberals, because you see a ton of liberals saying Donald Trump, yellow orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad. I mean, it's ridiculous the way these people attack the president. It's really ridiculous, like really ridiculous. Orange man's bad. He doesn't care for people. But yet there are so many people right now. There's so many people right now that are homeless. Let me see. There's so many people right now that are homeless. Homeless, don't have nowhere to go, and they're dying in the streets. And it's because of Democrats. And it's because of Democrats. Yet, I don't see any of these Hollywood I don't see any of these Hollywood advocates saying we need to do something about the liberals. They live in these beautiful big mansions and pass thousands. The number was 59,000 in Los Angeles County alone, 39,000 in LA. So they're passing a small army of homeless human beings. They're passing a small army of homeless human beings. A small army of them. They see people homeless and hungry every single day in the streets. Pass them all the time. And they're telling you that Donald Trump's policies are affecting Americans, and it's not helping Americans that it should. Democrats are affecting Americans, and Democrats are destroying America. The idea of having things for free, the idea that somehow you will have something for free. This man on this screen interviewing my opponent, he wears a $250,000 watch. I know I'm a watch guy. And I never had this Patek Philippe Nodus, but I've had a Patek Philippe before. And a watch that I once owned was $14,000. He smiles on her face as she wears a $1,000 Gucci watch and he wears a $250,000 watch. He's comfortable. He lives in a penthouse apartment. He has nothing to worry about whatsoever. He gets to smile and pretend like everything's okay on television. Are we not looking at the real life Hunger Games in front of our faces, people?
Pay their fair share. If corporations and the ultra wealthy, if we reverse the tax bill, but raised our corporate tax rate to 28%, if we do those two things and also close some of those loopholes, that's $2 trillion right there. If we implement a carbon tax, that's an additional amount of a large amount of revenue that.
How much more are you going to tax the people? How much more are you going to tax the people? Everything you do, and I said this before on the show prior to this, everything that you do is taxed. You buy something, it's taxed. I don't care if it's bubble gum, cigarettes, beer, if it's clothing, if it's cat food. Doesn't matter what it is, it's taxed. There is a tax on it. Taxes on gas, taxes on everything that you can think of. Do you not see what they're trying to do to the rest of the country? What they've done to California already.
That we can have.
When you're too broke to have a home, to have transportation to feed yourself, you are too broke to fight back.
And then the last key, which is extremely, extremely important, is reprioritization. Just last year, we gave the military a $700 billion budget increase, which they didn't even ask for.
Well, that's the new socialist darling from the Bronx. Let's bring in Dan Bongino, former Secret Service agent and former NYPD officer, host of the Dan Bongino Show podcast. Dan, she appears to be speaking for a lot of Democrats, even though she calls herself a Democratic socialist. Her big ideas are gutting the military and taxing the rich with different priorities. What do you think?
Yeah, Pete, she's also speaking for people who don't read books, because almost nothing she said in that clip was factually correct. Ronald Reagan actually raised a couple of taxes. When he raised those taxes, tax revenue went down. When he cut income taxes significantly, tax revenue went up. So what she's talking about raising taxes, she has very little evidence it's going to produce more revenue. Number two, she's confusing the entire military budget, Pete, with the increase. Mm-hmm. The entire military budget is around $700 billion. They didn't ask for a $700 billion increase. That she's running for Congress. You understand this, right? Not only, by the way, the lies go on, or the mistruths, or whatever the focus group tested word is. Then she says, and they didn't even ask for it. General Mattis actually lobbied for the increase. Does she not know that either? Did she just make up this whole thing? I mean, at what point is she going to go on the air and say something that is factually correct? This is now, 100 interviews where she's flubbed something big? This is embarrassing now.
Dan, let me just tell you, that's not the only thing she's talking about. I mean, she clearly is pointing out some of the weaknesses of the GOP. She tweeted that the GOP is weak on fighting for working class Americans, weak on crime, weak on equal rights, weak on national security, weak on rejecting racism, weak on moral courage, weak on family values. So, she says, hey, look, this is the problem with the Republican Party. What say you?
Yeah, that's just a genius tweet. Yeah, we're weak on borders. We want a border wall. That'll definitely weaken up the border. Weaken on family values. That's a fascinating new twist. Griff, is she just making this up? I mean, seriously, she may need an intervention after that tweet right here. That is insane. Why would you even write that? She doesn't even understand basic facts, by the way. That when she says the thing about fair share, the top 1% of earners pay 40% of income taxes. Think federal income taxes. Think about that. 1 out of 100 people working their butts off out there is paying 40 cents of every dollar. The top 20% of earners are paying up at 70 to 80%. Now, by the way, new rules on talking about the economy since Trump is in office, and I want to thank him for this. One, we're not apologizing for hard work anymore. Number two, we don't owe you a dime more, Captain Federal Government. Not a dime. Every time we give you $1, you waste it. You flushed our Social Security down the toilet. You ruined the education system. You're drowning us in $20 trillion in debt. We're not giving you any more money. You hear what we're talking about? New rules. No mas, no more money for you. Okay, you've ruined it. You've ruined all your credibility. It's not that the government is too big, it's that it's too dumb to spend our money the right way. We'll keep it now. Thank you very much.
Well, Dan, there are a lot of Democrats that think she's the future of their party. They love the message that she's talking about. A lot of young people as well. You hear free education, free health care. Who doesn't want that? The big question, as we all are talking about this morning, is where is that money going to come from? How are you going to pay for it? So Cabot Phillips, who is on our show all the time, and he goes out and he gets just an idea of how people are thinking in this country. He went to college campuses and asked them about these policies.
He went to the Bronx.
He went to her district, where she is from and where she campaigned. And here's what they said about how we're going to pay for this.
Her platform includes free healthcare, college tuition, the minimum living wage, housing as a human right. Are those things that you think the government should be providing for people?
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
100%.
I feel like everyone should have free education and healthcare.
How are we going to pay for those?
Oh God. I mean,
us.
I guess.
Yeah. Who, in your mind, should pay for all of the free things?
All of the free things? Well, some of it should come from taxes, but the government should pay for it.
But the government is funded by taxes.
Yeah.
There you have it, Dan.
That last answer was epic because it sums up the entire progressive movement. How are we going to pay for it? By taxes, but then the government can pay for the rest. as if the government has like a money fairy. Like there's a money fairy that sprinkles money all around. Do you understand like the black hole of intellectualism the current progressive movement lives in? They don't understand. It reminds me of a Milton Friedman analogy where he said the great myth of progressivism is that you think your neighbor's paying for it, but your neighbor's saying the same thing. He thinks you're paying for it. They really believe there's a money fairy out there. Listen, I mean this. I applaud Ocasio-Cortez for doing the hard work to win it. I ran for Congress. I lost. I knocked on a lot of doors. Good, nice job. But I'm being serious here. She's running for Congress. She knows very little about what she's talking about. And if she's going to be the future of the party, she owes the voters out there some semblance of reality, and she's not living in it now.
Well, Dan, based on those yachts behind you in that shot, you're clearly one of those 1%ers that's paying for all.
That's so true.
I'm proud. I earned my money, and I'm proud of it.
Dan,
and new
share
rules.
the
I'm
wealth.
not apologizing anymore.
Send your money fairy up here.
Yeah.
We could use her for a little while.
We could use a yacht for a little while.
Thanks for
Dan,
being
good
with
to
us,
see you
Dan.
this morning.
You too.
I'm sorry, y'all. Let me go. I'm dealing with something right now. Because I just seen Brandon Strucker's walkaway page repost one of my videos. I don't support Brandon Strucker. I do not support his walkaway campaign or his walkaway movement. And I don't appreciate seeing my video on his page, knowing that I don't support him. He knows I do not support him. I do not support him in no way, shape, or form. No one has my permission on his page to use it. And as far as social media is concerned and Instagram is concerned, you only can post videos that you create on your own yourself. So if someone who created the post wants to go in there and wants to report it, they have the right to do so. They do not have my permission to use anything. I'm not gonna have Brandon Strucker pandering to a bunch of people using my videos to pander to a bunch of blacks and Latinos when I don't believe in nothing that Brandon Strucker does. Me and this man has never communicated with one another. You can believe whatever you want to believe. If you believe the rapper 10,000, we need to walk away from the demo. I'm not walking away from anything with that man. All right. I'm not doing anything with him. I'm not going to allow people to use my image or my videos to pander towards individuals when there's nothing really of substance about this dude. When Brandon Strucker had the opportunity to embrace the Black Exit movement, Blexit, Brandon Strucker attacked it. He attacked it and he called Candace Owens a fraud. And I don't care if Candace Owens even forgave him and they're cool. I'm not cool with him. We've had our words with each other on Twitter. This guy's no friend of mine. This is the same dude who found out I was running for Congress and then all of a sudden he wanted to say he was running for Congress. I'm not with it. I'm not with no one fake, people. Same dudes who are posting my videos and showing my videos right now could be showing you that I'm running for Congress, but they're not. The same people using my image of me red pilling people and breaking down the truth of what the Democrats could be doing could be telling you I'm running for Congress, but they're not. Brandon Strucker charges people $25 to take a photo with him. He does. I'm not in this for fame or fortune, and I'm not gonna let any opportunist use my image or my videos to further create this aura about themselves. That somehow they're out here really trying to help people when in all actuality they just want to be famous and they want to help themselves. So now that I said that again and I put that out there, let me make sure that I actually disclose it. I don't know what he's charging, but I've heard it. I've heard it more than once that he's charged people for photos, to take a photo with him. He's charged people to take a photo with him.
Well, you know, the whole cleanup is suspect and politically charged. We already know that. The only reason why come they out here, you know, is to take people's brother.
It's a Wednesday on Skid Row in Los Angeles.
Who gave these people power to do this in the first place? Who gave them power to do this in the first place? Who gave them power to put the people in the street, then treat the people like this?
Activist Steve Richardson is alerting the homeless that the sanitation department and LAPD will be coming through for street cleanings. The city calls it Operation Healthy Streets, an effort to prevent public health outbreaks in homeless encampments. But for the homeless, the daily sweeps can also mean having what few possessions they own taken, setting them back even further.
They call it Operation Healthy Streets, but we changed it to Operation Healthy Sweeps because all they've been doing is under the disguise of cleaning the streets, stealing people's property.
Hi guys.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. So they're gonna spot clean today at the request of the mayor.
Request of the mayor?
At the request of the mayor. We're just gonna clean down San Pedro. They're gonna go through and ask anybody if they don't want trash to throw it in the street.
He said at the request of the mayor, we're gonna clean the sidewalk. Ain't that something?
That's it. He's pulling strings.
Pulling strings to have people's property thrown away.
Skid Row has long been synonymous with homelessness in America. But today, homeless encampments in Los Angeles have sprouted up across the city, from Hollywood to neighborhoods like Echo Park to South LA. And unlike in most major cities where the vast majority of the homeless live in shelters, in LA, the majority of homeless live on the streets in plain sight, in vehicles, tents, makeshift encampments, with nowhere to go. Lieutenant Howard Wong of LA's Sanitation Department works with teams of inspectors who deal with the homeless and public health hazards.
Types of health hazards out here can be biological, chemical.
He took us to see what he encounters on a regular basis.
Abandoned urine containers, biological waste such as feces or sewage located on the public areas, the sidewalks, the parks, on the beach. We have been receiving more requests to conduct homeless cleanups, but our resources are stretched thin.
Lieutenant Wong says the department can have 10 to 13 teams a day conducting operations like this across the city.
We typically try to close off an area to identify the health hazards first, store the items that are clean, and dispose of the items that are dirty. Okay. It's a tough task for us to deal with. I mean, there's homeless, we're going through personal property.
I'm trying to work with you, okay? Sir, you got it. Eventually, you're going to have to listen to what she's saying, okay? I really, really don't want to have to put it in. I really don't like That's the things that I need to prepare the food. I want you to keep your perishable food. That's what I'm more worried about. What you're worried about is different than what I'm worried about, ma'am. To be frank with you. You can fill your bag up, or we can put you in handcuffs and just take you on the sidewalk. I really don't want to do that. That's fine. Would you want me to stop doing anything and look at you? Yes. Just 2 seconds. I don't think you need to take your jacket off. I'm hot. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I'm really pissed off too. I know you are. I just want to kick you in the face. I'm not trying to disrespect you, sir, but that's how I'm feeling right now. Totally get it. It's not you personally. It's the whole thing.
There are daily interactions like this playing out as the homeless population in LA has spiked. In 2012, it was roughly 36,000. This year, it's 53,000.
I find those things. I keep receipts in my pocket. You're right, somebody. You take my
up. Eureka had agreed for 4 or 5 nights for rent, with you guys taking my stuff.
In recent years, the city and homeless advocates have battled over the responsibilities of the police and sanitation departments and the rights of the homeless. Homeless advocates have argued that the police go too far by taking and destroying personal property. And in 2012, the courts agreed. As a result, in LA, the homeless are allowed to keep up to 60 gallons of their own belongings. Anything more, the city has to bag, tag, and store in a sanitation facility on Skid Row called the Bin.
So this is the bin right here. This is the city's only homeless storage facility. And so no matter where you at around the city, whether you in Hollywood, whether you in Venice, whether you in South Central, San Pedro, if the cops confiscate your property on the streets, it's packed out and it's delivered right here.
Critics say the bin is really only practical for those who live on Skid Row. It's a 5-hour walk for the homeless on Venice Beach, a 90-minute ride by bus or bike. Anything not claimed within 90 days is destroyed.
The strategy, they believe, is that if you go routinely and make individuals pick all of their stuff up, maybe, just maybe, people will get tired of moving their stuff and leave the area, right? It's psychological, right? It is purely psychological.
Homeless advocate Pete White says the sweeps are not really aimed at cleaning the streets. Additionally, White says the practice of ticketing by police has made being homeless practically a criminal offense.
It is impossible to evade tickets based on the ways the laws are structured. It's impossible not to get a ticket for 4118D, which is no sitting, sleeping, or lying down on a sidewalk, because you got to sit down at some point, right? So you're always, always, always vulnerable.
We're so worried about the police harassing us and telling us that we can't be in a certain spot, it gets kind of hard and difficult to survive.
Michael Spearman lives on the streets of Venice and has been ticketed 5 times in the last year. 4 for blocking the sidewalk and 1 for not having a tag on his dog.
They come and write tickets like, got stuff tied to the fence, or you have a structure up like this, they'll write you a ticket for it. I feel like I'm trapped. I feel like, I'm always looking behind my back, wondering if they're gonna come and, start harassing me. It doesn't feel good.
They're in control of our freedom, so they can do whatever they want, and it sucks because they do. I don't know if they had last night, the next morning, they're just.
She was probably the same person who was voting. She was probably the same person who was voting for liberals to have control, thinking free stuff was gonna give away, and she would have free stuff or opportunities, and look what she is.
They want to arrest a bunch of people because they have warrants or whatever it is.
They want to get rid of us, but they don't. Homeless don't have anywhere to go.
Earlier this year, the LAPD found that most of their homeless citations go unpaid, leading to arrest warrants, jail time, and additional fees. LAPD Chief of Police Michael Moore has said these warrants clog up the system.
Sam Lincoln 35, show me code 6, the San Julian corridor between 5th and 7th, until further.
Officer Dion Joseph has been working on Skid Row for 20 years and has seen it grow from only a few blocks to more than 50.
there's nothing we can do. All we can do is do the weekly cleanings at certain streets. That's the only thing stopping it from turning into a giant petri dish, is these street cleanings. If there's any saving grace, that's it.
Police respond to multiple reports of violent crimes on Skid Row daily.
Right here at San Julian Park, I got a call the other day that there was a tent set on fire. I haven't verified it yet, so. Did you see him burn your tent down?
He hit me with a bullet call. I go file a report. Come back and tell me.
So you did file a report?
Yeah.
Okay. Sam Lincoln 35, one additional unit. I'm inside of San Julian Park. Sir, do you have your ID on you or anything like that?
My name and my social, everything. So
I'm not saying you're dirty or anything. I'm not saying you're dirty or anything, okay? Yeah. Listen, do you have any weapons on you or anything like that? No, just relax, turn around. Let me check you for weapons here. Just relax, I'm not gonna hurt you, I promise. No, we're gonna investigate. Just gonna investigate, okay? Yo, this might be a bunch of bulls, we don't know. But I gotta investigate it, okay? Just relax, and we'll get everybody's side of the story, and we'll talk. Matter of fact, we'll see if there's any witnesses or anything. We'll help you out, okay?
Officer Joseph says criminal activity in the encampments is putting people in danger.
The gangsters have completely taken control of pretty much every block. They are now taxing the homeless just to sleep on the sidewalk. We're pulling out high-powered weapons from tents. We're pulling out swords. We're pulling out handguns and ounces and ounces of meth, cocaine, and heroin.
In the city's latest budget,
how do you think all of this is created? How do you think all of this happens? This isn't a conservative sanctuary city. These aren't conservatives who promise to give illegal aliens or illegal immigrants or people from other countries health care while watching Americans sleeping in the streets, dying from health-related issues that would be prevented if they only had access to clean water and shelter. This is despicable. When you give Democrats control of anything, they destroy it. They lie to you with ideas that somehow the government is going to give you something when the government has nothing. When the people are funding the government, they tell you free, free, free. Nothing is free when you are paying for it. There's nothing free in this world. And the moment you give people power over you will be the very moment that these people will mistreat you. Look at the people in California right now. Look at the people sleeping in Detroit. Look at the people sleeping in the streets in Portland, in New York City, in New Jersey. The only way we stop this is if we stop allowing these Democrats to call themselves politicians. We have to get rid of them and get them out of office. If you're going for an independent, by all means, I applaud you. But the last thing